I forget what it
It's
is.
7 o'clock, and I'd like to adjourn the meeting of the Shade Tree Commission. Could I start with a roll call, please?
Mr. Buck.
Here.
Ms. Hendricks. Mr. Glissman.
Here.
Ms. Mowry.
Here.
Mr. Olin.
Here.
Ms. Reich. Here. Mr. Wilbur. Councilman Hellinger.
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Wright.
Here. I am serving as the meeting leader tonight because Dave Carey, our committee president, is absent. Committee chairperson, I guess, is absent. Tom Wolber also sent an email. He's ill and he won't be here. So I'm looking first for a motion to excuse the members that can't be here.
So motion. Second.
So we have a motion and a second to excuse Mrs. Hendricks, Dave Carey, and Tom Wolber.
Mr. Buck.
Yes.
Mr. Glissman.
Yes.
Ms. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Olin.
Yes.
Ms. Reich. Yes. Councilman Hellinger.
Yes.
And Vice Chairwoman Wright.
Yes. Okay, if you could look at the motion summary from our last meeting, which was in November. It was included in your agenda packet. I'm looking for a motion to approve the motion summary.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Buck.
Yes.
Mr. Glissman.
Yes.
Ms. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Olin.
Yes.
Ms. Reich. Abstain. Councilman Hellinger.
Abstain.
Vice Chairwoman Wright.
Yes. All right. Do that little business part of things, and welcome to everybody who's here tonight. First of all, I'd like to introduce someone who's been a member for a few months but hasn't been able to make the meetings, and that's Juliet Rife, and she's our student representative. Juliet, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you, why you're interested in being part of the Shade Tree Commission?
Hello, I'm Juliet Reich. I'm currently a senior at Delaware Hayes High School, and the main reason I wanted to be a part of this is because I'm kind of awkward, as you can tell by my voice. So I wanted to get out there, and I thought this would be a great way to give back.
Thank you very much.
And it took us a few months to connect, but I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And we're also welcoming a new City Council representative, Mr. Hellinger.
Yes, slightly younger than Joe. By a year or two.
Would you like to provide a little more background? I know you were elected in November, but
Yeah, I'm one of your at-large council reps and been on council for 2 years. So we're just here to, as a council rep to any citizen-type committee, I'm basically your conduit back to council. So.
well, thanks for being part of our group.
Yep. Thanks, George.
Due to the absence of two long-serving members, Dave Carey and Tom Wolber tonight, I would like to defer the election of chair and vice chair until next month, if everybody concurs. Everybody's okay with that? I don't think it needs to have a formal motion. Everybody okay with deferring that?
Yep.
And that moves us to public comments. Do I have anybody out there who would like to offer any questions or public comments? If you could start by stating your name and address, I guess.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Strong. I'm with EMH&T, and our address is 5500 New Albany Road, Columbus, Ohio. And I'm here in regards to, there's a couple issues that I've been made aware of that you're going to consider as you move forward in the process of street trees within subdivisions. And two specifically that we have currently approved through the city is Glen Ross North Section 1 and the communities of Glen Ross Section 6. I have had the great fortune of working in this community for the last 25 years of my life and have been with EMH&T for about 32 years. I am personally concerned about some of the anticipated changes that potentially this community may follow in regards to street trees, in regards to intersections. My understanding is there's some concern that current local street intersections for sight distance purposes are not adequate because of current street tree locations. And we are applying a ODOT requirement to these local street standards. And I would suggest that I would like, if I could, or be a part of that process. There is no other community here in Central Ohio that I know of, and I've worked in most of them, or in Ohio specifically, that applies ODOT standards to local street standards as far as sight distance. And the concern is that this community for a long time, like many others, values street trees and what they bring to the streetscape as far as the character of the community in itself. And by applying these standards, these intersections, a lot of these trees would be removed that I don't think necessarily provide an obstruction to the intersection. If there are concerns associated with local street intersections such as signage or relationship of trees to street lights or fire hydrants, there's many codes within here at Central Ohio that we can use or replicate that have these standards. Westerville's a good one. We worked with them for a long time and identifying where these trees should be located in order to make sure that there's clear sight distance for signage or getting to fire hydrants or things of that matter. But I guess my concern is that, I understand that we want to have a safe community. I would like you to really look at this process, and as you go through it, what that means and what that means to the character of your community. I don't really believe that, and I could be wrong, and please tell me if I am, because I'm pretty ignorant sometimes, but that you have an adherent or adverse amount of intersection accidents or anything on local street standards within your development. I mean, if street, and on top of it, I mean, we're talking about a tree trunk. I mean, and I don't know if the issue is maintenance of trimming or what has to happen for those intersections, and that's the concern. But I would like you to really consider that. I would hate to have, I'm not here for any client or anybody else, I'm here on my own behalf. I will say though that I think as you move through this process that, as much as this community wants a certain character, I think so do our clients. I mean, they see the value in street trees and what they bring, not only from the standpoint of what they can sell from a product standpoint in the final neighborhood itself, but long lasting from years on in the future and what they mean. There are other options of placement, there are options of location. I don't like this idea, but I know that the Delaware County provides for street trees and they're actually a foot or two outside the road right away. So if that's another option that we could look at instead of just saying that because of a ODOT application of an intersection that I believe that is really a code requirement applied to highways and rural areas, not suburban or urban locations. I think we're not giving ourselves due justice of what we can have and what this community and what the street trees mean in this community. So that's all I really have to say. I know that it's going to be presented today. I've talked to several of your engineers about that, and I know two of the projects that we're working on happen to be the ones that has recognized this issue. And I know for the longest time we've applied a different intersection design standard that's shown in your code currently, and whether or not there's some feeling that that's not adequate at this time, I can understand. I just would like to have us or myself to have the option to work with you and with your staff or the city staff to look at other options than just applying the ODOT requirement to a local street standard. And I'll be more than happy to interact or talk to any of you, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Strong?
It's strong.
Strong.
Strong, S-T-R-U-N-G.
Strong,
Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
So if I could ask a question.
Sure.
You live in Columbus, And you work for the engineering firm, is that correct?
Me personally, I live in Genoa Township.
Okay,
I work for EMH&T. I'm one of the owners, and I've been
and
there
that's
for,
an engineering firm that
Yes.
does lots of, so when you say I've worked in the community for 25 years, you're meaning as an engineer?
yes.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a landscape architect, if you want to know my correct.
Okay.
So,
So you're speaking on behalf of, I think you mentioned clients or customers.
yeah, I mean, I think I speak on behalf of a landscape architect, and I speak on behalf of, I would like to think, what I've worked in this community for the last 25 years in understanding what your concerns are as the character of your community and how you want to, what that means to you. And I think, our clients, I don't think many of our clients even know this is happening. And I know that from their perspective is that they find having street trees as an asset.
Mhm.
It is not something that they take lightly. I just found out about this meeting probably a couple days ago, and that's why I came up here. And I haven't had the opportunity to really talk to staff about that process and what they're looking at. And I know you're at the earlier stages in doing this. I just want you to recognize that I think there's options instead of just applying a standard ODOT requirement that really was for rural highways. I mean, I've done a lot of enhancement plans for interchanges, and even those enhancement plans sometimes aren't even as restrictive of what you're trying to apply for a local street standard. So I guess my point is that use me as a resource if you'd like, and I'm just saying that I think there's other options and opportunities, and not saying that you wouldn't explore those anyhow, but I just wanted to have a voice. That's all.
Thank you.
Because I care.
Yeah. It's a new topic. We haven't heard, and so I feel like I'm
You're right.
getting all this information.
Well, and
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know
because
exactly.
unfortunately, this comes first before
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
had the option of
So
staff talking to
we
you.
may have more
Sure.
question and dialogue after
Sure.
we're presented the information that's part of the agenda, number 8 in tonight's agenda. So,
And I know that this is early on, and I think next month you're going to maybe hear from Matt and some other things.
Right.
So I guess the point is I've only asked is, be open-minded. And I think there's other options or ways to maybe hopefully meet in the middle that satisfies what this board tries to do, and also what staff needs or feels that they were trying to protect the health, safety, and welfare of this community.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just real quick, Jen and I talking about this yesterday and today as well.
Sure.
But we're looking at hiring a Parks and Natural Resources Director within the next few months. So Jen was going to come tonight, give her a presentation on this, and then I asked her to let's hold off before we make any radical decisions on anything we move forward and with until we get that director, talk with this board, talk with City Council before anything like that has been
That'd be great.
decided on. But we also discussed, could we put trees at the corner lots? Could we put them behind the sidewalk? So there's all kinds of things
Exactly.
that we're looking at.
Right.
Because this is part of,
Shade
I'm the
tree.
park superintendent. It is part of my
Sure.
responsibility to look at,
Sure.
different avenues and different approaches that we could take to not just wipe out 20 trees
Right.
and not have it. And everything you said is exactly what I talked to Jen about yesterday and today. It does put an added value to a homeowner, and we have to take that into consideration before we make that decision. So,
As well as the character of your community.
Correct.
I think it's important. So, and like I said, I'm not here to disrupt the process or anything else. I guess I'm here to help. So,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can you tell us who Jen is?
This is Jen here. Jen Stein.
I'm from the Public Works.
Okay.
I work with Jennifer a lot, so I know who she is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 6 on our agenda is discussion of the annual report. If you remember in November, I asked you to review or at least start thinking about the things that we consider highlights for our 2015 year. I'm going to defer that discussion also. We've still got plenty of time, but I will just remind you to come to the next meeting with some ideas on that. And if it's easier to just send me an email, I can provide you with last year's report, which might help you formulate things that,
That's a good idea.
the report that we presented in April of 2015, which documented things that happened in calendar year 2014. I have that, so.
Cool.
Okay, that brings us to number 7, the arborist report. And Doug's information was included in our agenda packet. He provided not only the monthly, a monthly report, but sort of an overview of, or compilation of the statistics for the whole year. Is that correct?
That is correct. I just wanted to let you know that all that information for your summary report will be in that also for the year and for anything that you needed as far as the city activities go. Trees that we removed were down from the year before, so that's a sign in the right direction. I have noticed that the emerald ash borer ash trees are still hanging on, and last summer, I think mostly due to the weather being cool and wet in the early spring, gave the trees a lot more oomph that they could survive. We are pruning down a little bit. We only did 764 street trees, and that was also due to weather issues and just staffing issues. We planted a total of 326 trees last year. That brought us up to only being behind about 383 trees at this current time on the backlog. So we are catching up rapidly. Obviously, the ongoing project to shape street trees, that'll continue through 2016. Last year, we reviewed, as a Shade Tree Commission, 28 commercial and development plans. With these plans comes an additional almost 800 trees going to be planted into the right-of-ways this year. So I also submitted our application for the Tree City USA status. This will be our 35th consecutive year that will be Tree City USA.
You've done that already, is that correct?
Yes, that was submitted in early December.
Okay.
Again, we had spent a $2.95 average per capita cost, and our total forestry expenditure for the year was $110,322.
That includes your salary? Or is that just operating or
That
your
includes my
activity?
salary, yes.
Includes,
Yes. That includes the purchase of trees, outside contractors doing work, such, and anything, equipment, anything that we use to do the work with.
Doug, by public tree canopy, does that include parkland?
Yes.
Okay.
Last month, we have removed 3 trees already this year due to mortality issues. We have pruned, as of this report, only 76 trees were pruned in January so far. However, we did about 93 the other day, so we're getting a good jump on them this year. Again, the only really issue going on right now is the ongoing project to shape the street trees. AEP is out of the area for the time being. They will not be returning this summer, hopefully.
I'm sorry.
AEP is out of the
Oh,
area for this summer, hopefully. I may have them come in and take a couple trees down that are hazardous issues that could potentially have a problem with falling and going across power lines if they choose to take them down.
Mhm.
Nothing that I'm worried about is going to come down and cause damage just to their lines. Today I received a letter that the Ohio Department of Agriculture is going to again be spraying for the gypsy moth this summer, into June, into May, and into mid-June. The area basically is the Delaware Run area along Williams Street up as far as Hidden Valley Golf Course. There is a public meeting. It's actually an open house meeting on February 18th at the OSU Extension Office at 149 North Sandusky Street from 6 to 8. Well, they'll have all the information that you'll need to see. Again, there'll probably be they'll be using the pheromone flakes to treat
Dimlin,
with. What's that?
Dimlin.
I think it's disrupt.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
same thing.
If Doug, if you would make me a copy of that letter that you received, I will translate that into an email and make sure that our committee is reminded of that, as well as the members that are absent. Since the meeting will actually be held before our next meeting, it's probably a good idea if I get as many people
Okay.
that
Yep.
know about it. I'm sure Tom will want to attend.
And that is all I have.
Any questions of Doug?
Was that 6 to 8 on that meeting on February?
6 to 8, yes.
Thank you.
Is the extension office, is it on Sandusky Street?
Yep, 149. It's just north
Yeah,
of the courthouse.
Okay.
And that is an open house meeting, so.
So there's no
you can
formal
come- You can
presentation?
come in at 8,
Yeah.
5-10 minutes before 8 and still get the information if you need.
Okay. Thank you. Is it up to the city or Ohio Ag to advertise to the public, or what's the?
What they'll do is they'll
notification?
put their signs out again like they did last time. I'm sure that we will spread the word also that it's going to occur. And then the Ohio Department of Agriculture will answer any questions the public has. If people come to the Shade Tree meeting or call the city, we can answer those questions also.
Okay.
But they'll have all that information, and it's really, we have no choice. They're going
Yeah.
to spread it, so.
And they'll do mailings to every address that's affected by that.
But if they stick just to the Delaware Run area, there may not be that many addresses.
It goes all the way over to Park Avenue.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's William Street to Park Avenue out to the golf course.
okay.
So there'll be
Yeah,
quite a few
okay.
residents. I think last year was more north.
I got it,
William, and
yes.
This will be south.
Yeah, I received a letter, I think it was 2 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
Have they talked about any follow-up monitoring of gypsy moth after their last spray? Have they been out there monitoring or anything like that?
They have traps
Yes.
set out.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, they've reset traps last summer. They reset traps
okay.
to see what their numbers would be. I don't know what those numbers were.
Okay, I was just wondering if they were satisfied with the results of the last spray, if everything went well. And all that. I'll
Okay.
ask him at the meeting.
Thanks, Doug. That brings us to number 8 on the agenda, presentation of sight distances at intersections.
As I stated, I'm Jennifer Stockner. I work for the Public Works Department, the Engineering Division. I'm here tonight as a result of having some conversations with Stacy about our current standards for sight distance in the city and the sight triangles that we are applying at the intersections. My position, just so everyone understands, is I'm the primary reviewer for all new developments that come into the city, both commercial and residential. So this falls under my vein in that I'm the one who would perform the review of this and would essentially request that the designers would change that or how they would handle those intersection distances, the sight distances. So probably the best thing to do is just kind of start with what's in your packet. Currently, we apply a sight triangle that you can see from, I don't have these numbered, so it's on the email. There's a page 2 there that shows a sight triangle of 20 feet in each direction from the street. That's in our codified ordinances currently. And that's what we've been applying consistently for previous reviews. And we took a look at this recently and realized there was really no design basis for this, no engineering standard design practice basis for that sight triangle. We're not, to be honest with you, it's kind of a statement of ignorance, but we really are not sure where this site triangle came from within the codified ordinances or when it was developed, what the theory was behind it. So as we looked at it, we thought we need to apply an accepted engineering practice site triangle to these intersections as opposed to what we're showing now. As Stacy mentioned, this is very preliminary. Unfortunately, I didn't come as prepared as I normally would because we had this discussion and he said, I have this meeting coming up. And so I didn't have the opportunity to go through and find accident data or research many of the cities around Central Ohio to see what they apply. I did find that Dublin seems to be applying a similar standard. They seem to be applying the ODOT standard for intersection site distances. If you look at the ODOT standard drawing, which is one of the first in your packet here, that shows the site triangle that we would be looking at to apply for our standards. And then you'll also see the attachment of an actual drawing for a community currently under review that applies those site triangles. If you refer back to the standard drawing from ODOT, you'll see there's nothing that indicates that that is only for highways or main arterials. It's not specifically called out for one or the other. And as an actual design basis, ODOT is really the only thing we have to go by when applying these site triangles and assuring clear distance to be able to see at the intersections.
But ODOT's jurisdiction would just, I mean, to me, it would be understood that it would be, that those standards would be applied to only streets and intersections or highways and intersections that are under their jurisdiction. Wouldn't that?
Under engineering design principles, the majority of us apply ODOT standards for a vast majority of things that they're not specific municipality standards to. We don't have our own site distance standard here other than applying design judgment, which is essentially the ODOT, which is what we would fall back on. It is a little confusing because there's many instances within the engineering design process where we have to look back to these ODOT drawings, even though it may not be applicable to, even though it may be designed for those, as you said, they're not under their jurisdiction normally. But that's all we have to go by. That's the standard design review practice. So that's what we would be applying here. So as I said, there's really no basis for what was in our current code that I can see that points back to standard engineering practices. So that's what we would fall on. And if you look at the attachment here of the plan, you'll see this, that it's communities at Glen Ross 7, which Jeff was mentioning their firm is involved in. And that applies the site triangles here. And you'll see that those triangles that you see in pink, that's basically an area that per this standard is supposed to be clear of all obstruction. And as you see, there's trees in there currently with the landscape plans that we've been approving because currently we would only apply that 20 by 20 triangle. Therefore, we would be taking additional trees if we applied this as a whole. As Stacy mentioned, we're here more to begin this discussion than to come to a final application. We just felt as though it was important that we base this review criteria on engineering practices and engineering principles. We do have, as I said, I haven't had the opportunity to review accident data, but I know Stacy and I have mentioned that we have a lot of calls for visibility at intersections, inability to see stop signs. We get calls. They're not able to see clearly in order to make those turns and make those operations. I don't have a list of that for you. I probably could get that given some time, but essentially we just know from our standard practice, and I'm sure Stacy can attest to this, that it's a frequent complaint, it's a frequent concern of residents that they're not able to see at these intersections due to trees. So given the fact, or trees or other obstructions, given that fact, we just felt as though it was important to start applying something that had some engineering principles to it rather than to just go with this 20 by 20 triangle that was in our code from the past. So that's essentially why we're here. And I think I understand Mr. Strung's concerns. Obviously, we don't want to just start taking trees out for no reason at all if there isn't a problem. But as I mentioned, I think Stacy and I can attest that, we do see a problem from our experience and from the concerns that we have voiced to us. So at this point, I guess it would be best to just answer any questions you may have, or if there's anything else I can expand on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's great to do things with engineering standards in mind, but I'm wondering if there are any engineering standards out there, I'm sure there are, besides ODOT's, like other engineering protocols that were authored by some entity other than ODOT that may also be worth looking at.
And that's something, given some more time, we can put some more research into. Each municipality, I think, kind of comes up with their own standard for these based on the issues that they see within their community. I think in glancing through, I think I've seen some other site triangles that were similar to ours, but like a 30 by 30 application. And it just depends on the areas that they see as problematic and where they would apply that. Obviously, some of this will require, and I want to say a case-by-case basis, because we certainly do apply a standard here, but we would apply judgment and common sense if we saw there was one of the things that Stacy and I were discussing was the curvature of the roadway, which the site triangle takes that into account, the design of that. But if we have a straight roadway that intersects, exactly perpendicular to the intersecting roadway, that may be an area where we can apply some judgment and say, those trees that are on the outside of that triangle, as you would see at the intersection here of Crickstone and Nightbird, when I'm looking at, I would say, if we were to use the judgment in that specific case, we would probably say, okay, we see that the triangle cuts through those last two trees to the east, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at this wrong, to the west, and so we might say, okay, we don't necessarily have to take those two trees, even though they're technically in the site triangle, we wouldn't take those. But those that are clearly inside that view corridor, we would need to remove those, and as Stacy and I discussed, possibly pull those back. And I know you guys have had some conversation in the past about whether or not there's applicability to putting them outside the tree lawn, back on the resident's yard, or those kind of things, different options that we can look at. So at this point, we're just looking for some input. We understand that, we need to look at some of the other cities and see what everyone else is applying. Just pointing back to the fact that standard engineering practice, we would normally apply that ODOT site triangle.
And so, all the other thing that we discussed too, it could be just as simple as the species that's chosen for those specific locations as well. Instead of a low bushy tree, it could be a oak that's works out fine.
And then when they get taller and there's more clear length, then obviously that changes the site too.
Right.
But in the meanwhile, you've got.
Correct. We also talked about, the tree lawn, if it's a 4-foot tree lawn, that kind of limits what we can do. But if it's a 5-foot tree lawn or bigger, then we've got other options to do as well. So, like she said, it's preliminary, get the word to you guys so that we can everybody start to brainstorm a little bit on this and get to thinking of things. And
that's good. And I would just wonder, if there's data out there that can demonstrate safety based on various different engineering design protocols. Let's say there's 10 different protocols you look at, and if there's huge disparity in the amount of safety, public safety within those different protocols, then I think that would be something that's worth looking at.
Sure. And we can do some more research on that and come back to you with some more information on that. I think that would be helpful. So.
Yeah, I would think just as a kind of a rule of thumb from a site triangle. And yeah, I have no idea where your 20-foot came up with. But, if you're looking at a residential street, it's 25 miles per hour, which means your vehicle's traveling at 37 feet per second. So, I mean, to me, that it sounds, of course, I'm a motorcyclist, so very hard to see anyways. But, I would think you'd want at least a 1 second field of view of the posted speed limit on whatever. So, if it's 35, that would mean you need at least a 49-foot clear view sight triangle, and just kind of scale that appropriately.
Yeah. Well, we actually went an extra step over the course of the last day or two and took a look at actual stopping sight distance as opposed to sight triangle. And the stopping sight distance, believe it or not, for a design speed of 30, which would be a 25 posted speed, was 200 feet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and obviously applying that in this case would be very difficult. We wouldn't want to wipe out every tree on the intersection, but that's a perfect example of what, with the scientific basis behind that stopping sight distance. That's what they believe you should have before you get to that intersection to be able to have a clear vision. So that's just another prong of this. We didn't actually put that in this packet, but just another prong to it.
Looking ahead a couple of meetings, what are you looking for the Shade Tree Commission to do? I mean, would you look for us to make a recommendation to the council who would ultimately make a decision, or what?
Well, Stacy, I'm gonna let you jump in there because that's kind of your parlay.
Yeah, I mean, like Jen said, Jen's going to do some more research on the other local communities, see what she can come up with. We'll get it back to this board, start looking at those, then yes, make a recommendation on, if it's the ODOT standard or if it's something else that we come up with, including safety and everything else included in that. Then make that recommendation to take it before city council.
It is a council decision, though. It's not just
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
I assume, are you going to take this, not Parks and Rec, public parking? What's the parking?
Parking and safety.
Yeah. Will they hear this information too, and will they could we contradict one another in a recommendation?
Possibly. We talked about that the other day, that sometimes cars can be obviously as problematic within that triangle. So that could be the next step here. So that's something we'll probably have to discuss a little bit further within the next few meetings to see if that's something we want to apply. Obviously, that changes, parking regulations. So it is kind of a two-prong.
Yeah, but I was talking about
approach.
the parking commission. What's the formal name of that group?
Parking and safety.
Parking and safety.
Mhm.
Will they be asked to weigh in on this also?
I would imagine.
Yes,
We haven't
okay.
unfortunately, we haven't really, like I said, this was very, very recent and very, very new. So we haven't really discussed all the prongs to it and how it would proceed from here, but that makes some sense.
And like I had mentioned earlier, this is something that I asked Jen just to speak on tonight, and then, with us moving forward, and why Mr. Holman's here this evening is, with the Parks and Natural Resources Director coming on board here in the next few months, that's, we wanted to get input from that person that's in that position, and this committee and move forward, so.
That's always good to bring someone new on board and then ask them to make a very important decision. 2 weeks that they're on the job.
We're pounding the nut.
Oh, by the way.
Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jen? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is Mr. Holman, who wants to discuss possible new hire or a new position in the city.
Thank you for having me this evening. I visited last week with the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission and tonight with the Shade Tree Commission, just to update you on some organizational changes that I think will be beneficial for the community, in particular the Shade Tree Commission and the Parks Board, and that is the recruitment that's underway currently for a full-time Parks and Natural Resources Director. And as I indicated last week when I met with the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, this position is intended to be one that would have principal responsibilities in our parks and natural resources area, and not that we'll have a focus in recreation, but as all of you know, we contract our recreation services with the YMCA, and that relationship is continuing to build and strengthen, but we, over the last couple of years, I think have noticed a void at that higher level executive management position in the parks area, and a lot of this got shifted into Stacy's lap, but he's been involved in really the kind of the evolution of this process, and it really started a couple of years ago with just some internal discussions about where do we have some gaps in our system. And I think in hindsight, looking back at the decision to contract our recreation services with the YMCA, I think that made sense. I still think it makes sense. I think we underestimated when we lost our Parks and Recreation Director at that time. You'll recall Darren Hurley was our Parks and Recreation Director. He was here for a couple of years and left us for a position in Worthington. He left about the same time that we were negotiating with the YMCA over contracted recreation services. So it made no sense at that time to hire another Parks and Rec director because we were going to contract the recreation services out. And I think we underestimated, I think, the trade-off of losing the parks piece of the Parks and Recreation Director position, quite frankly, and underestimated that and really didn't know at the time. And I think fast forwarding, have recognized that our parks and natural resource assets are critical to this city, and having a person at the director level position being responsible for that and working with Stacy and his staff, interacting obviously with the Parks and Rec Board as well as the Shade Tree Commission is quite important. So the recruitment underway. We advertised for the position. It's up on our website now. You can go and take a look at the position profile. But we talk about the relationships with the various boards and commissions and the importance of that. We also talk about the importance of the natural resource piece of this position. So we're looking for somebody who can do a whole lot. And but this is a great community, and I think it's a good position, and it's one that I think will interact closely with the Shade Tree Commission, and that's really why I'm here this evening. Obviously, is to just let you know that, and let you know that our goal is to have individuals selected, hopefully by Memorial Day, on or about Memorial Day, so that they can start kind of in the ground running and weigh in on intersection sight distances and all the other things you were talking about. Paul Olin and I had a conversation last week about invasive species, and he's done a lot of good work in that area, and we talked about him continuing to do some research and then kind of reporting back to the staff level and trying to figure out what our options are with respect to that issue. But that issue obviously would be something that a Parks and Natural Resources Director would hopefully have some knowledge about and be able to provide some recommendations and directions. So that's really the nature of my being here tonight, is just to update you on that, to answer any questions you might have, and just to let you know, finally, that on behalf of the council and just my staff, we appreciate greatly the work of the Shade Tree Commission. This is an important body of people that is really entrusted with a special treasure in our city, which is our trees, our tree canopy, and our urban forest is really special. And it's, I think, one of the things that sets us apart from a lot of other communities. It's one of those vertical improvements I consider, whether it's our street lights or our shade trees. And I know we often have those conflicts with sightline and tree roots and heaving of sidewalks, but on balance, I think the tree inventory, the tree canopy, and that urban forest in general has just made us a richer community from a natural resource standpoint. And it's the work of this commission. It's helped us with that, and hopefully will help us going forward with addressing the issues about get us a tree species that won't heave sidewalks and that won't drop berries on sidewalks and things like that. But that's anyway, that's just a little aside. But anyway, I'm just kind of wanted to update you on that tonight.
When's the announcement close?
The March 6th.
March 6th.
March 6th. So the intention would be to have a series, an interview panel, probably sometime in March and April, and then have somebody on board in May. So, and we will continue to keep the Shade Tree Commission updated on the progress of that recruitment. I mean, Stacy's involved in that, so yeah, we're quite excited.
Sounds good. Any questions for Tom?
Or comments? I mean, well, great. That's great. You might think of them afterwards. Feel free to email me or call me. And
I was going to ask a lot of questions about the what background, what educational experience, those kinds of things, but I'll just look at it on the website.
Yeah, we're looking for somebody, hopefully, bachelor's degree, master's preferred, background in natural resources management, parks, some recreation experience, a certified parks and rec professional. There's a certification that's preferred. It's not required, but obviously we've emphasized more the parks and natural resources, but we have not. We don't want to de-emphasize recreation because there's a component of recreation that's still here. We contract with the Y to provide rec services, and we want to ensure that we're getting that contract gets followed, and that we are providing good recreation services for our community, and that the residents know that. So, and that was a discussion that we had with the Parks Board last week. Was that particular issue? So, yeah. But yeah, take a look at the website. There's a nice invitation for the position, and there's a parks. Is there a conference coming up, Stacy?
OPRA is actually our lead Sunday. It'll be posted at that as well.
That's the Ohio Parks and Rec, and they have their annual meeting.
Yeah, conference.
Yeah, and so, and just as part of my due diligence, I reached out to the executive director of the Ohio Parks and Rec Association to make him aware of it, and also just get his feedback, input on developing the position. Spoke to some other parks directors in various places and just got input as we were putting that together. So we're looking forward to a strong candidate pool. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, now we come to the portion of the agenda where there are staff comments. I guess, Linda, what we usually cover is your customer
Yeah, the
service.
customer service request for December is in the packet. It's really kind of a slow month, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think they were able to get some stuff done that they normally wouldn't because they're out when the weather's bad, doing snow removal and trimming trees and picking up trees that have fallen down. So yeah, it was kind of a slow month for them. So, are there any questions?
Seems like a large number of stump removals for 1 month.
Those were a backlog of stumps
okay.
that we removed. We had.
They weren't like individual phone calls of, I have this stump, I need it out.
And then the only other thing that I would like to comment on is want to thank Amanda for her service to this board and wish her luck as she leaves us.
Stacy, do you have anything?
Of course, we don't have the final copy of our budget yet, but we were able to get additional funding to help us with planting and pruning of trees. So it was a nice thing. I'll say it was roughly $7,500 if I remember correctly. That will help us, so staff's not planting the 300 trees that we were planting this year. And that's also help us with additional prunings as well. We also increased our seasonal labor hours. A lot of that is to help with the new Veterans Park spray and play and Veterans Plaza, as well as right-of-way mowing. But we should be able to shift a few to help out with getting some more prunings done this year. So hopefully you'll see an increase in our pruning numbers come December.
What did that go from to?
It was done $30,000. 30. I don't have the final budget yet, and it's kind of hard for me to tell you that because, and we make light of it at our end, I guess, a little bit, is that, you know, we submit something, but then it takes us about a month before we get what we submitted. So I'd hate to tell you 37 and then it's 35. I don't want to do that. So, but that's something that Doug and I had talked about.
It's in that area.
Getting you guys, once we get that budget, is getting a copy of that to you, letting you see what's there and what our plans are for those dollars. That's all I have.
Okay, Doug, anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Before we get into member comments, I just want to circle back up to item number 4, which we deferred the election of the chair and vice chair. I don't know if Dave Carey's email went to everyone or just to Linda, but Dave, in his letting us know that he wasn't going to be here tonight, said he was going to have a lot of conflicts this year, and he was not going to be willing to seek the chairman's position again. So I just wanted to make that announcement so that you all will consider the additional time that you might have to devote to that. So that will be for us to decide next month. Okay, member comments. Down there with Tom.
I don't think anything tonight.
Okay.
Very informative meeting.
At some point, well, the last meeting we had, there were a lot of very specific questions asked about alien invasive species, and I really, at that time, wasn't prepared to answer with specifics, but I have since done some research on a number of things, a number of those issues that people asked about, and if you want to revisit that topic at a future meeting, I'd be happy to provide more information on that. And I have a lot more, actually. And I also have a PowerPoint presentation that I can present. So just let me know when you want me to do that.
Well, are you requesting that we have an agenda item for February?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
we can do that. We know that we'll also have more site distances discussion, and we will have probably an annual report discussion. So I don't know what else will be.
I'm not sure that the site distance will be on next month because I believe that Matt Weber is coming to talk about
right.
some project updates.
Okay.
So I don't know how long that will take, so we may want to hold off on.
Whatever fits in is fine with me.
Okay. And that may be something that you want to wait until the new director is actually on board to really delve into deeply.
Well, yeah, but that's June or July. So I'm not sure. We could, I don't want it to fall off our radar, so to speak. So let's just commit to doing something in February or March.
Okay.
Paul, provide an update of which we'll not make any decisions or anything until the new director's on board. I think that's fair. Okay, Jim?
No, not tonight.
Okay. George?
Nothing.
Nothing from me.
My last meeting, thanks for having me. It's been great, very informative. Someone
Thank
who
you.
knew nothing about trees. Now I know about trees, and I yell at my boys when they're banging them with their golf clubs. So,
Good.
yeah, so thanks for having me, but my heart is in growing my business, and so, yeah.
I misunderstood you in November. I remember you saying you probably weren't going to renew or whatever. And so when you walked in, I thought, oh, she's changed her mind.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. Yeah. All right, plan reviews.
Doug, just remember the comments into the microphone so Elaine can get it recorded, please.
Okay. Okay, the first plan up is Glen Ross North, Section 1. It is continuing Balmoral Drive and extending to the, I think that's the north. Oh, why don't I look? North is the Balmoral Drive actually is going, so this is going over towards Glen Parkway. Yeah, you know. Oh, yeah.
We're going to miss you.
Again, color coded. I've always tried to, because I'm out and I mark where the trees are going, and also I'm the one that goes out and prunes the trees, and I get the calls for people that are complaining about the site visibilities. I try to choose trees that are more upright in growth and trying not low growing that's going to block the stop signs or yield signs or whichever it is. This is a little different. This since it's the new year, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. Last year, we had a question come up in one of our neighborhoods that we had done when I'd actually gone. We had approved the plans as is, and I'd gone out to adjustments because I have to adjust for the lights, fire hydrants, stop signs, things like that. When I'm out there, it was, why are there more trees on some of the properties than what the plans show? And the reason being is similar to this, where I've taken wherever there's a possibility that there's going to be a stop sign, I've eliminated that tree. Just one tree, typically from the front of a property. And I feel because it's a corner lot, they still have trees on the side, and they still probably will have a tree on the other side of their driveway. Those trees will try to be worked into more of open areas. So our code is 40 foot right of ways, or I'm sorry, 40 foot between trees. We may have trees that are 30 foot apart because we're working on that. So we can make sure we still maintain all those trees. Again, still trying to keep more upright trees in those areas. So try Imperial honey locust at the intersections. This will be another intersection that will be going out through there. Again, trying to work a lot with the same size and then Zelkovas around these intersections in the middle, and then just trying to keep our 610 diversity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Get rid of those ones right by the stop signs. Let's put Zelkovas in there.
Where do you have this box?
These are 6 trees that we've eliminated that we worked into.
Oh, gotcha.
And those 6
Okay.
trees will be these, not the Imperial honey.
Okay.
So you'd work those into.
Right.
Where would you work those into?
Open areas, like there, I may be able to put a tree in between these 2 driveways. If it's not always the way it's drawn, when you go out there and look at it, this space actually could be a lot more than what it is.
Yeah, nice diversity. Yeah, that's great.
Just to explain to you the different colors mean different species of trees.
And that's really just for my benefit. When it goes back to the developer, They just see we approved how many trees they had. They don't order the trees. I do work with London Gardens a little bit, and so they can pre-order. She'll ask me what kind of trees we're looking at for areas. But for the most part, this is just for my benefit. So when I go out to lay them out, I remember what I wanted where.
Want to do this?
Sure. Is it the right date?
Yeah.
Good one. And this is their entranceway, just in case you were for Glen Ross North. And you're going to ask me where that is going at, and I can't tell you. I assume it's going to be coming off of Glen Parkway.
Looks nice.
There's nothing I saw in there in the plans that I thought was an issue or anything that wouldn't do well.
What are these trees?
These are Amelinkers, tradition.
Single stems?
Not that it matters. They look like they are for the drawing.
Yeah,
They are.
it's hard to find single stem. There's one that tends to lend itself towards being single.
And then this is the continuing buffer zone that they've worked all the way around the property. It's a screen of evergreens and deciduous trees that they're planting on the mounding around beyond the homes. They did. I did notice they're working some of the black gums.
Yeah, how nice is that? It's
Yeah.
gonna be great fall color. Especially with
Approved changes. The next one is communities, Glen Ross, section 6. Again, it's just the planting specifications, same as they always are. Sometimes we allow the double, sometimes we just allow the single. So right now, most of it's single state that we let it go forward with. And then the buffer zone. Working some frontier elms into it and some Glen maples. I don't know why they did that like that, but this was the page. So again, removing where there could potentially be stop signs in the future. If someone can tell me that there will never be a stop sign there,
Yeah.
we still probably, now that we're dealing with the line of sight, we'll probably look at that closer. But just eliminating the one, this one I think we'll be able to move closer to the driveway. This one we can move from here to here. Somewhere in between, that's a big gap in between. They might get one. This will be bumped up closer to here. It just depends on what that line of sight, what they decided to do with it. Silver linden, alkalite elm, autumn gold, ginkgos, region sunset, maples, and some shoemart oaks.
This,
Mm-hmm.
flush it off.
Chair, Doug, is that approved
Yes,
as submitted?
as submitted. Well, with changes at the intersections. With changes at intersections. I did not.
I registered and really missed that weather and my car stopped working.
This is what you were asking about. These are the plans for the new water park.
The new what?
The Veterans Park.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
So, spray and play.
Orient me.
Hmm?
Orient me. Where's
The
the?
YMCA is over here.
Oh, okay.
This is the back, the YMCA is over here, the big parking lot, soccer field's here, soccer field's that way. Walking path goes around like this to that parking lot. So it's a good combination of trees and plant material. Everything highlighted is just the trees.
This is your opportunity to use big trees, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the question, actually the main question came from somebody on city council. They were concerned about the number of trees that was put in this area. If there was enough of them,
I think they wanted more.
they wanted more or something like that. But I don't know if that refers to this or,
I think it was the overall site plan.
oh, okay,
Put some in here maybe.
yeah. That's, I don't know. But apparently they wouldn't see this, though, would they?
City council?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, maybe that's what the question was.
Anybody have questions on this? Sorry.
Would this be in here?
This section.
Splash pad's right here.
Oh, then what's this?
I just want to know how far away.
I thought that's the dinosaur bone area.
No, that's the splash pad, the smaller age group, the larger. Those are the dinosaur footprints. This is a sunken plaza.
Oh, okay.
What's that?
There's an area where you can, like, if you have entertainment, you can set up, and then there's seating and stuff going to be in that plaza area.
Mini amphitheater.
Okay.
And then the dinosaur head and the slide is over in this area.
Which explains the larger trees to shade south.
If you haven't been out there, drive out there and look at it, because it's really coming together.
Will it be open this summer?
Memorial Day.
Okay.
But there's two like shelter houses. One is, we're calling it 3 Seasons, but it's not really, it's got a fireplace, fire pit. And there's a concession stand, restaurant.
So the soccer field then will continue to be like.
Yeah.
This way.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean.
This way and that way.
Oh, this is the track, guys.
No, this is the parking lot.
Yeah, to the block.
Exactly.
You sure you're
Don't
taking
put me on the
your,
planning commission either.
you sure you're taking your kids there?
This is gonna be a drop-off area. You can drive up right into the front and drop them off. Yep.
Is there a turnaround?
It's just like a loop, and it goes right
Oh, it
back
does
into
go
the
around.
parking lot. Yep.
Great, that is awesome.
We okay?
Yeah.
Approved as submitted.
Just make those trees grow in 2 years so they're big.
And there's, if you wanted to see anything closer up, plant material wise or.
Wood shrub. Is that your shrub list?
Yes,
And perennials?
and perennials. There, I can step out, I see this.
I'm tired of looking at it.
I need the wood splash pad list.
Because we haven't let you cut all these.
Where's the bioretention? CB, EC. I'm not sure it's on that. Yeah.
CV, MB.
Yep.
So that's up here.
Okay.
So that's,
Yeah.
then what is this? If that's into the parking lot.
We'll go back two
Okay.
maps.
Yeah.
Was this, okay, so this is the bioretention.
Okay,
That's
so that's
part of the
Plaza.
Okay. The amphitheater.
Almost makes me wish I had little kids again. Almost. Yeah. Could do that.
Any other questions?
They don't come often.
Okay, good. I think Stacy has one more to tell you about this. You're going to be singing.
We've got the courthouse, hopefully is the new Delaware County Courthouse, hopefully those plans will be coming next month. You guys, we gave you an informal back in August, I believe it was, but those plans will be coming. So there's some bump outs. You see those? There's some bump outs there for parking and stuff that'll have some trees in them and stuff. I think something really, I guess, new to the city with these bump outs. So just wanted to make you aware that that will be coming next month, because, and the reason I'm making you aware of that is because it's like a fast-paced thing right now, and we didn't get the landscaping plans on our end. So I wanted to let you guys know in case you see, well, they already okayed the courthouse. So you guys are getting the landscape plans, so.
Cool.
Okay, motion to adjourn, anyone?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Good job, Susan.